Hey scholars, this is a video explanation to go with the annotated bibliography research assignment. So this is something I've talked about in class a few times, a number of times, and I'm going to go through it. So make sure you're looking at the document that is in the same module. So as you know, what you need for the speech is 4 sources. I mentioned in class that it's in your best interest to get more than you need, to get like 8 to 10 sources, right? As you're doing your research, get a list, compile a list of, let's say, 8 to 10 sources for your speech. Good quality, high quality academic scholarly sources. And then as you go through them, you whittle it down to the 4 that are required. So you don't have to do that, but that's my advice to you. So for this assignment, the annotated bibliography research assignment, you have to have 4 sources. And in most cases, the 4 sources you use for this are the same 4 sources that you'll use for your speech in the final version of your speech or the final outline of the speech. So what you'll do is a few things where it says, how do I format it? So you're going to have 4 sources. So for each of the 4 sources, you're going to do the following. You can just number it or use a bullet point. The first thing is you provide the citation. You do using MLA or APA, or if you're familiar with a different type of formatting like Chicago style or AP or whatever is unique to your major, that's what you're recommended to do. So if you're really familiar with APA, use APA. If you're really familiar with MLA, use MLA. If you don't have any familiarity with anything, then just stick to APA, because that's the format that I use in the samples. You can always go to, I mentioned here, go to OWL, Online Writing Lab. It's through Purdue. That's a really good source for telling you how to do formatting. So you provide the citation, and then you provide a summary of that source. So whether it's a 10-page journal article, a 2-page newspaper article, a 15-page journal article, regardless, a 200-page book. If you have a 200-page book, I'm guessing you're not going to read all 200 pages, but perhaps there's one chapter that you're referencing or one section of the book that you're referencing. So you need to read enough of your source to be able to provide some kind of a summary in your own words. Obviously, you don't copy and paste. If you copied and paste, that would be a plagiarism concern. So make sure you're writing in your own words. Do your best to summarize the source. And then step 3, now you're going to provide the evaluation and the analysis of the credibility of the source. So I've talked about this in class. I talked about the CRAP tests. And really for this assignment, for the annotated bibliography research assignment, I'm only going to have you do 2 things: the reliability and the authority. In class, I mentioned the currency, which is only really relevant if you're talking about like a scientific topic where you want to get the most recent stuff. The last P is the purpose. Don't worry about those for this assignment. For this assignment, you're doing 2 things. You're gonna be doing an evaluation and analysis of the reliability of the source. So what is the source of this information? Why should you rely on it? How can it be trusted? So the source is the, let's say, the entity that published this information. So if it's a journal article, it's the journal itself. If it's a book, then it's the, let's say, the book, the publishing company, whoever published the book. Sometimes people can publish a book and it's some no-name publishing company, or some people have a book that's published and they just publish it themselves. So it's like, how do you really know if that's trusted? But if it's something that's like a well-known book publisher, then you can look that up and speak to that. If it's a newspaper article, if it's a well-known newspaper like LA Times or New York Times, Orange County Register, you still need to give some sort of a background bio. You're basically saying like, here's why we can trust this information. So you're kind of doing like a background check on the source. So that's the reliability. That's how you know that the information is reliable, because it's being published. The person publishing it is not the person, but the entity publishing it can be trusted. If it's a website, how do you know that this is a website that you can rely on? If it's a government website, generally, if it's a .gov or .edu, generally those are pretty trustworthy. But if it's not, well, how do you know? Like, how can you verify the reliability of this website? So this requires you to do some digging. All right, and the next thing you talk about is the authority of the person. So now we're talking about the actual person or persons who wrote this information. So if it's a journal article, well, how can you trust this person? Who is this person? Why should I believe what they're saying? And then that's when you need to do a little bit of legwork and get as much information as you can about this person. I'll speak to this as I go through the samples. If it's a newspaper article, same thing. Well, how do I know about the person who wrote this newspaper article or the book or the website? Who's the author of the website? Who, if it's a website, then it might take more legwork to figure out how the information is being published on that website. Because if you look at a website that has to do with your topic, there could be a number of contributors to that. So you need to do some legwork and some research to find out how that information is getting there, who's putting that information up there. And then the fourth thing that you're going to do is provide a sample oral citation. So this is where you write exactly how you're going to cite this source in your speech. I have a sample oral citation document. I have a document on Canvas in the same module that gives you all kinds of different examples of oral citations. The book talks about them. I talk about them in class. So for part 4, you're going to write how you plan to include the citation in your speech. Include the actual quote. Don't just say, "Oh, I think I might talk about this." Don't write that. Write the exact oral citation according to this article from this journal by this person, so on and so forth, right? So that's what you're doing for part 4. So those are the 4 things that you're doing for each of the source for each of your sources. I mentioned in the note here, you can change or switch your sources as you see fit up until your final draft. So anyways, after you submit this, you might add a 5th source or one of the sources that's in this annotated bibliography research assignment. Maybe you decide not to use it for your final outline. Sometimes a student will do that, and that's fine. But for this assignment, you have to have 4. Most students will stick to all 4. In other words, the 4 that they have in this assignment are the exact same 4 that they have in their outline. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, if you have questions, if you're unsure, then feel free to ask. So down here I have a student sample with only 2 sources. Obviously, you need 4 sources, but this sample is with 2 sources. 2 of the sources from this student's particular assignment, where you see the source, you have the APA citation, you have a summary, and the reliability. You see how it talks about the peer-reviewed article written by these authors, and then there's information about American Psychologist. So American Psychologist is the journal that published this article, and it's basically just giving information about American Psychologist. So for a lot of journals and even publishing companies, you can find that information on their website. And in many cases, it almost might be word for word, like where it says, let's say I'm giving the example of the source 2. On source 2, on reliability, it says Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin is a peer-reviewed scholarly journal. They're an international outlet for original empirical papers in all areas of personality and social psychology. So that information is kind of taken right off their website, and that's fine. That's public knowledge. It's not like you're claiming that as your information. So my point is, when you're getting information about that source to verify the reliability of your source, a lot of that might be taken directly from the website of that source. So like, let's say if it's a publishing group, like Taylor and Francis is a big publishing group, you can find information about Taylor and Francis on their website. Sometimes Wikipedia might give you information, but that sometimes can also be suspect. So do your best to get primary research, primary sources. So that's a reliability, right, for the source, American Psychology. And then the part that says authority, now we're talking about the actual people, the humans that actually did the work. So Alexander Haslam and Stephen Riker. So that's where you're basically giving them a background check, looking them up. They might have a website. You might find them on their university page. You might find information on their LinkedIn page. So you got to do what you need to do in order to find out, like, can these people be trusted? And if you do it doesn't take a whole lot of work, but if you do a little bit of legwork, you can find information either on a school website if they're a professor, or a LinkedIn account. Sometimes professors have a LinkedIn account. Sometimes if the person who's the author of your source, if they're not a professor, they'll oftentimes have a LinkedIn account or some other sort of like publication or information that allows you to know that they're trusted, right? That they are credible for the information they're providing that you're using in your speech, in your outline, in your research. Okay, and then you see the example of the execution, or according to this article, so on and so forth. And then the next one, according to Thomas Carnahan and Sam McFarland's article, so on and so forth, right? So that's what you're doing. This is just two sources, but you're obviously doing all 4 sources. So that's how you do this assignment. This assignment is worth 50 points. Make sure you follow it. Make sure you're doing all the things that you need to do. Each one of those 4 things for each of your 4 sources. Okay. And the nice thing is, once you're done with this might sound like a lot of work, but this is strategically related to your whole speech assignment. So this is a separate assignment, right? This is what I mean by I have a scaffolded approach to how we do the informative speech. So, hey, this is worth 50 points, right? But once you're done with this, it's not like it's just going to be, it's not like there's nothing to show for it, right? You do this assignment and now you have a lot of information that you're going to incorporate into your outline. And then it makes the process of writing the outline that much easier, which makes the process of rehearsing for your speech that much easier, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you're seeing how everything is interconnected. So that's the video explanation for the annotated bibliography research assignment for your informative speech. Hope you're all doing great. Talk to you later. Bye.